DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
We'll have to talk about that more after we get done because we are now live. Da, da, da. It's gear night, and that's what we were just talking about actually. Because today, the new Denon, the MC7000, made it into the office today, and MJ, it's been something we've been looking for a little while now.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's really odd how that they are not officially releasing it or telling anybody. We found out about it because somebody else posted that they had got one because they had pre-ordered it. So we didn't even know. And then John ended up, how did you say it? Cry to them or complain? I'm not sure which word you used.
Whined?
Begged,
pleaded.
And they sent him one. But yeah, they didn't even say that they're releasing it. We had a November release date, then a December release date, and then Guitar Center said first week of January, then Guitar Center said the 11th or 12th of January, and then all of a sudden this guy posted he got his, and then John said, I want it, and they sent it now. So,
and for those of you guys have seen, I've got the MCX 8000. It's right over here in the Denon studio.
You need my Denon sign. I actually have a light-up Denon sign on the other side.
I don't have light-up. I asked for some signage because of it's, we've got the monitors in there, we've got the controller, and I wanted to make it basically a Denon area. So it's really kind of cool. The turntables are supposed to be shipping here later in January, except they're really expensive. I didn't realize they were going to be quite that expensive, but okay. So the Denon studio is going to go, but I wanted something for mobile, and that's why the 7000 was like, oh, this is going to be awesome because at the time, the virtual DJ wasn't working with the screens, and it's like, well, okay, so we'll just go. And then MJ's like, one day he goes, look at the screens. They work.
Yeah, that's weird how that they're updating. My guess is, and I was talking to somebody today online, that there's some sort of contract with Serato, which a lot of them do that, and that's why there wasn't anything for Denon pre-released. So it was basically, it comes out, and then Virtual has to grab it and then make their own. Like Serato had had it made ahead of time, the mapping.
Yeah, and if I knew more about Serato, I was playing with it, but after spending time with Virtual and such, I just feel more comfortable in that arena right now. So, okay. So Dan.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you guys?
We're doing well.
I'm jealous, to be honest with you. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. I'm jealous. You guys get the toys, you get the studio.
No, I get to help someone who has the toy get it running. That's all I ever get to do. This is a true story. The guy, I have friends that work at Guitar Center, and all the time they'll call me up and say, hey, we have a customer here that has a question. They're working at Guitar Center and calling me at home to help them with things. So that should be my job. John, we need to talk about this. Maybe we can make it.
There's a tech service call from MJ.
The tech service hotline with MJ.
And then when they're doing it wrong, you're a fool! Quit it!
Stop it!
Put a 5-year-old on a phone. They'll do better than you did.
I would do that. The first thing I would do is first wear your shoulder, and I need to use them. They'll probably be able to do it quicker.
Yep, exactly. This won't take long if I can talk to someone who knows electronics. Go.
Need a child under the age of 13, please.
And then get Chris Hansen and wonder what's going on.
Who?
Chris Hansen.
Who's that?
Never mind.
Who's Chris Hansen? One of the Hansen boys?
No. It was. You said you needed somebody under 13, and it's the guy who catches people for being those type of people.
Oh, the predator catcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh. Yeah. Glad I didn't know that, actually.
That's something you might know as a teacher, Dan.
Yes, and having TV.
Oh, see, we don't spend time on either of those.
We got a boatload of stuff to go through, John.
Yeah. David,
catching a predator.
Yeah, David mentions the Denon monitors. Yes, initially I was going to use KRK. The first ones I was going to use was the Gibson Les Paul monitors. Love those. But I was thinking, they're such a nice cabinet, beautiful look, but they don't match anything I have, so I was going to give those to my dad and let Dad have fun with that, and he would just love that. So then I was going to go to some KRK and put those in there, and then I talked to the Denon folks, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll give you a good price to get some of our monitors." And oh my goodness, KRK is nice, but the Denon are in a different audio realm than the KRK, at least at this level. And then, of course, the Les Paul is a different sound altogether. Again, good sound, but it's different than the Denon because of how they're tuned. So,
yeah, Denon has the history because they're all under the InMusic brand. They've got that whole M Audio line to work off of.
Yeah,
that
good.
Audio is still part of that too, so they get to work off all that.
Good stuff. I mean, it's really, really impressive. My kids come out here now, and they actually want to learn how to use the turntables because they're like, this sounds so good. Which I laughingly say I had to spend like $2,000 to get it so it sounds CD quality.
Yeah. No, never mind. We're not going to.
Okay, let's talk gear. We've got right, MJ's got a.
First thing I want to do is wish a happy birthday to the iPhone. It's 10 years old today. So it seems like we've had it longer than 10 years, isn't it?
Happy birthday to you.
See, I had.
I'll get our phones up. MJ can't.
No, I had the iPod 1, the iPhone 2, 3, and 4. Then I got Android and said, I'm never going back. Android's so much better. No. I like Android because it for me, I got a loose cord there. Because I like to, obviously through the MIDI mapping, you've learned that I like to do, a lot of tweaking, and Android lets you do a lot more of that. All I could do is load up Nova Launcher or one of those, and then I can just start changing everything under the sun. If I want 1 or 20 icons per page, I can change, as many as I want. That's why I like it. No other reason. Well, I like it for a lot of reasons. The main reason is I don't have to use iTunes. I no longer have to use iTunes ever.
I don't either.
We love iTunes.
How do you put music on the phone then?
How do I put music on? I stream. Why would you put music on?
Just saying. How do you take music off? How do you add things? You have to use iTunes.
I stream.
Yeah. Well, not everybody streams. Some of us like to put mixes on there so that when we go out and if there's a crash in our system, we have a backup right there.
Did you know Dan lives in a world where the internet works all the time?
Yeah.
I don't have internet at a gig, so it's a different story.
Rain, maybe. It's funny because I'm really learning a lot of Wi-Fi passwords now. So when I go to places, I'm like, what's the password? No, don't use ours. Use next door. There's a lot faster. I'm like, heck.
Sound Obsession. Denon 7000 is missing the screens. It is slightly smaller, but it is. I picked up a little a Magma, kind of a clamshell case for. It was supposed to be for the 8000, but I picked it up at DJ Expo, and 7000 fits in there beautifully. So it's a little reconfigured. I'm going to set them up side by side tomorrow. Didn't have time enough to do that today. So tomorrow I'm going to do that. Wednesday night, we're going to do the Wednesday night show, and we're going to show and play with those a little bit and let you guys see some of the differences between the two. So that will be our Wednesday night playing around. Da-da-da. Okay.
Was he asking about the 7000? Never seen it, or what was he asking?
Is the 7000 closer in size to the 8000? So yeah, they're very, very similar. It's they're much bigger than the 6000.
Yeah, it's more on the I don't even know if you want to call it pro line, but like if you want to talk about sizing, I like to call what the two Denons are is the mid to large size.
Yeah,
it's like, and also in one of the products we're going to be talking about, and I'm glad that you brought that up and segued us, is that just prior to a lot of this going on, Pioneer released the second version of the SZ, which is huge and actually is bigger than the 8000 and those are the large controllers, and then you have like the mid-size. The 7000 starts falling in the mid-size, and then we go into the small size with the 6000. But that was one of the tech things that was released, and it's just funny that they're all coming out, just they're hammering them, trying to compete with each other and say, pay attention to us, don't pay attention to them. And
yeah. And that's a big thing. I think that's why you saw that this information today, a big in music, release is the pay attention to us the week before NAMM starts.
Yeah. I want to point out also that since you talked about the turntable, John, there it is. And I have no desire to ever play on vinyl ever again, but I have to admit that is a seriously sexy turntable.
Yeah, it definitely.
And doesn't the LEDs have the ability to change color?
Brightness and color. Change brightness and color, which I thought that was finally. I've said for years that they need to start putting dimmer switches on some of the equipment because if you're DJing in a dark place, it is crazy bright sometimes.
Yeah, and from the wrong angles and such, and then all of a sudden I'm blinded because I can't see what I need to see.
Yeah. So that was another release from Denon. In case you were sleeping under a rock and a bridge at the same time, they released this SC5000. It is a all-in-one media player. And when I say all-in-one, the reason I say that is because previous versions of like the CDJs, the newer CDJs that will play media without a computer, you still have to run the songs you have through a media management software before you put that USB stick in the back of the controller. This one you don't. You just put them on there, put it in, and it does that work inside there. So it is the first truly one that does not need a computer. So you literally with these would not even have to own a computer aside from putting your songs on a thumb drive and popping it over there. So that's one of the cool things about that too, which, but they're expensive. They're $1,900 each. And the turntable was $900 from Denon. Speaking of turntables, for those of you who missed it, Pioneer is releasing another version of their 1200s because they had the 1200 G or R. I can't remember which it was before.
We're looking at Techniques there, MJ.
Techniques turntable. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
They a while back released the 1200 G or R. I can't remember which it is.
It was a G.
And it was like $4,000, and they came out with this one, this was released at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, the GR, and it's selling for it is touted to sell for $2,000. So that was last week. They just released that.
Wow.
So they're saying on it that the first one was not intended for DJs. This one is still when you can go out and buy an older Technique. Take it to a shop, get it repaired for much less than that,
Yes. Wow.
But they're still going to sell because John and I were talking about that today. That I did a video a while back of the strangest DJ controllers, and one of them was the always blank on its name, the pacemaker.
Yeah, there we go. I was going to say heart.
It's something to do with heart, yeah. And it basically kind of looks like a big remote control or a very large phone, and they released it, I don't know, almost 10 years ago. But they've sold over 50,000 of those strange little things. It has a little screen and a couple touch things on it. That's it. And it's fully, hold it in your hand. You don't need anything else. So you can't say that they're not going to sell anything, because if they sold 50,000 of those, they're going to sell enough of these to cover their thing, I think. I mean, what do you guys think? Turntables? I mean, I know you said the kids are going back, but I just, as much as people talk about vinyl growing, I don't think we're not going to see people walking away from controllers and media players.
People aren't going to walk away from it, but I think you still have your collection of DJs who they're playing on vinyl controls.
Right. And I will tell you that a lot of the younger ones say the only reason they do it is just so that the older ones will let them DJ with them. No other reason. So it's the die off of when those older ones quit DJing or die off, you're really going to see a lot less of it. I really feel.
Yeah, but I also think it's a look thing. I know, like, for the same reason why I went with a bigger controller for when I'm doing school dances is I want that look. I want that kind of flashiness that goes with it.
Look at the DJ.
Well, exactly. I mean, as opposed to my little controller that I use for weddings, because I want to be more compact. I want this thing spread out, and when anybody that comes up goes, "Oh my gosh, that's pretty." Like, that's why I do that.
I thought you were saying as opposed to learning how to DJ.
Well, yeah, I don't know how to do that. So, but no, I think, for some aspects, I think it just comes into the whole novelty aspect of, hey, it's on this. And again, you're controlling the laptop. It's not, it's not doing away with that. Yeah, the question that I would be curious about with it, where they're saying vinyl's on the rise, is vinyl on the rise from the standpoint of vinyl pressing of albums and that kind of thing? Is that what they're talking about versus people using turntables to control systems in general? I think almost like they're two separate.
Yeah, when they talk about the vinyl, like I did, and one of the shows we did a while back, I went over the numbers, and it's literally some of the numbers they're talking about, whether it's a single or an album, is less than 8%. They say, it's the record sales are up 100% from last year. Well, up 100% still puts it at like 0.6% of the total music market.
Right.
So, and like you said, with the streaming, that's taken over everything. And with the streaming services, with the software, you're going to see, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later because I'm breaking tonight's show down into 4 segments: hardware, software, audio, and video. And we are on the hardware section now. And I think when we get to the software, I'm going to ask a question that's going to go right into exactly what you're talking about with the software, Dan. And I'm curious to get you guys' opinions when we get there on that. Continuing on in the hardware.
Yeah.
Is the mixer that Denon released. It's a full digital mixer, double double sound card, like a lot of them, which you talked about in your little video today about the 7000. That's something you'll probably never put into use. I'm curious to see, because I know in the past I've had friends and I who have plugged into my controller and use my controller as the mixer, where I'll have my Denon set up and my laptop running off of that. And then the outer 2 channels of the 4-channel Denon are hooked to their turntables. So they're just using my fader and volume knobs with theirs and their Mac computer. And I'm curious to give the 7000 a try, because it has 2 with their Mac and Serato plugged in, and my Windows with virtual, and flipping switches and seeing how does it move smoothly. Like I can let them do a song and then I do a song, and then them do a song and then I do a song. So you may never use it, but it has options for that. And then it also gives you a direct plug to a backup computer if you want.
Yeah.
And I saw
plugged in all the time.
Yeah. Did you see the second video, John, for the media player?
I'm not sure if I did.
They had a second video out, and about partway through it, with this player right here. And for those, that center screen is an actual a video screen. You can put your logo on there, or if it reads the album art. But on that one, they literally unplugged it from the power, and it kept playing. And I've not read anything, and I can't get anybody talking about it. So there's either an internal battery in that, or it's being able to pull enough power, because it has an Ethernet hookup, so you can hook up to 4 of them together. So you can chain link them together into the mixer, and it's pulling enough power off that Cat 5 or Cat 6 or whatever Ethernet. So there's another move to the future, again, talking about hardware and software, to where you're talking about a device that doesn't need a computer and then all of a sudden doesn't need power. So if you're at an event and your power goes down with the computer and the controller, you got to reboot sometimes or redo it. This never shuts off. Your power comes on, your speakers come on, you're still playing. Tell me that isn't a cool thought right there.
Yeah, that would be very cool. We'll have to check into that next week. That'll be a question I ask when I get to the Denon booth. I'm sure that Ross or some of the guys will answer that question for us.
Yeah, but I thought that was kind of neat that is tonight's show again is because last week was the Consumer Electronics Show. And for those of you who don't follow that, it's a lot of tech, not necessarily in the DJ world, but it's new tech and tech that then will down the road come our direction. And this is all part of the stuff I see with the media player. As you have to think 10 years ago, or it was about 10 years ago. Most people just started using computers to DJ.
Yeah.
So in another 10, they're not going to be using computers to DJ. It's like the old thing. Our TVs used to be wireless and our phones wired, and now it's the other way around. So, our computers, we're not going to use computers, and then we're going to use computers, and then we're not going to use computers. So, but with the technology getting that small, tell me how many things that can change with just that small technology.
For sure. Just a slight
anything comes up, yell.
A slight tangent on that. Before Todd Mitchell and I went on, we were talking about 2001 was Todd's first time of speaking at a DJ convention. And he remembered specifically at that show, Dr. Drax from the ADJA getting on stage and saying the future is computer playback, and that we will all be using computers in a few years, and we will all be doing this and that. And the number of I was one of them. So we're laughing at him. We've got CDRs. Why do we need computers?
Yeah.
So
I was telling John today when we were talking about this that I remember when people were like, no one will ever play CDs when they DJ. That's the dumbest thing. You'll look like an idiot DJing with CDs. And then no one will ever use a computer to DJ. You look dumb using a computer to DJ. And then no one will ever use a controller to DJ. You look dumb using a controller to DJ. Well, guess what?
You just look dumb. Maybe that's what they're trying to tell you.
I just look dumb no matter what I do.
Wasn't the controller or the CDs? It was just MJ.
No.
Okay, what do we got next?
All right, Akai has come out with a couple new things. My friend was asking me about this today. If you know anything about the old MPCs, they have two of them out right now. The MPC Live and as soon as I can figure out how to do this now. How do I get that to change? Oh, because it's sharing a screen. I can't get it to change. Then the second one is the X. And these are kind of like almost an instrument. You wouldn't see them on necessarily a DJ level, but you can DJ with them. But Akai is known for their MPC pads and stuff, and now they're doing the same thing as the Denon controllers, to where that device in itself, what used to be connected, and having to do stuff MIDI-wise, that is can run off its own battery even. So you have that device playing music on stage, and you if you have to go online and look up MIDI drumming and all different stuff like that, and you'll see some amazing videos. But now wireless, not necessarily wireless, but has its own power. Right. So these are all devices they're coming out with, to think about it, that are self-contained. They don't need you to buy software anymore. They don't need you to buy a computer. Just buy our equipment and you'll be ready to go.
You are a DJ.
Yeah, you are a DJ. The next one I want to talk about goes along with screens, and I kind of want to this is where I want to get your opinion on this. But Razer, the company Razer, put out a laptop at CES that has 3 screens, foldable. So it folds in on itself and drops. It's heavy. It's about 12 pounds, but this is what it looks like.
I thought our laptop was heavy.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like there. And the other view is here from the side. And they do plan on releasing it, and those two fold in and then fold down. So remember me talking a while back about when I'm doing the video DJing, how I want an extra screen?
Yeah.
What if a controller or a computer in the future comes with 3 screens?
You could be watching your favorite YouTube videos over here. You could be checking your email over there, and Facebook updates.
Trust me, I have friends that do that, and they're checking out, and I'm like, why are you even call yourself a DJ? You're making all of us look bad. But no, I mean, think about it, because like everything's coming with a screen on it. Now, both of those MPCs have a screen on it. Yep. The new Denon 8000 has a screen on it. The 5000 has a screen on it. There's a tiny screen on that mixer. There's a tiny screen, they call it a menu screen. So it's basically letting you pick through your menus of effects and stuff. On the top corner of the mixer, it's right up here. So that in there where it says Echo, that's actually a tiny screen that tells you different things. So they're putting them on everything. So I expect lots more in the future that are completely self-contained like that. How does that make you feel? I mean, because like we're not young kids. I mean, I acted, but that's all a claim I can do to it. But change. There's another change coming. We went through the changes, and Dan, you had mentioned before about how people don't necessarily want to change with the turntables because of the looks, because of familiarity, for whatever reason. This is a whole nother paradigm shift in the industry. What's your thoughts on it being accepted?
It's gonna be an uphill battle at first until you see some of the other companies coming on board, and the more you get the big names doing this with more of their equipment and pushing it more, it's going to take a little bit. You have one company do it and everybody's going to be like, yeah, and nobody, and then the next thing you know, Pioneer's got one, or and then you have some of the knockoff companies suddenly bringing theirs on, and that's usually, I think, the sign where something's catching on, is when the knockoff companies, or I don't want to say maybe the knockoff, but maybe some of the low budget ones come along board. Then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess this really is a thing. for me, the one thing that I pull back on until and this is because I've never played with it or touched it. I have a problem because, for example, MJ, you talked about the 3 screens. There's a lot of surface there of being able to pick and choose and seeing what's going on. And you talk about these little ones. I want more real estate. I like the control of typing something in and not a hunt and peck type of thing. Not a phone type of keyboard, but something a little bit faster. And again, that's because I haven't played with the other style yet.
Yeah, I agree. I'm one that wants the keyboard too, but I know that back before, I don't even know what year they came out, but then they came out with 2 1200 CDJs. That's what they called them, the 1200. And they were like a small CDJ, and they were much like the new one that came out, to where it's self-contained. And I actually DJ'd quite a while off of them by putting just thumb drives of music in the back, put a crossover cable, which a crossover cable is an Ethernet cable. Instead of it being the same, like the red and the red are on the same side, a crossover's flipped. Connecting with a crossover cable, you can put a keyboard in the back of it and then type down onto the screen and search for whatever the same exact way. But I wanted, like you said, more real estate. I want to be able to see more than 3 songs at a time. And with the newer ones, you're seeing a little bit bigger screens, a little bit, what if you got a controller like the 7000 or the 6000 or the SZ that has 3 very large pop-up screens?
Well, yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. I think when it comes to something like that, that's good for me, going to help. I'm not opposed to something being self-contained. It comes back to then what's your backup? Mm-hmm. What's your backup when you have these kind of things? I mean, that's the one nice thing about some of these, the 6000s and some of these other ones. They're straight mixers. If your computer goes down, you can throw another computer in. Yeah. If you're playing off of it and playing the internal media, where's your backup? So that's something obviously we'd want to keep in mind as you go forward, is you're going to have something still as a backup.
Yeah. Here is something that I'm going to show you that will go along exactly what you're saying about backup, because remember Shani a couple of weeks ago, those of you who don't know, there's a reason why she's not here tonight. She's working, or actually she's driving back from working, right, John?
I believe so. I think she was going to be getting back late tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
We didn't told her to do while she was driving.
Yeah, we didn't kick her out. She didn't kick us out. It's not like
we should have addressed that earlier, but we were so excited to talk gear, and she was.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, so Shani, we'll be back next week. I just want to clarify that if anybody even cares, when it comes to gear, you could have a beautiful woman standing by, but DJs that love their gear, we'll be like, what girl?
I didn't see anybody there.
Going along, Dan, that. Data Traveler released this. I don't know if you can see it, Dan.
I can now.
A 1 and 2 terabyte thumb drive.
Ooh.
Yes.
So imagine you then get the new controller, Dan, that doesn't need a computer and has 2 terabyte of internal storage. It's getting crazy to think about what is possible now.
The one thing I'd be curious to see from that, and I didn't check out the footage on it. Some of the higher level or higher volume, I guess we'll say, the thumb drives has been a big issue. Around Thanksgiving, when you're doing Black Friday sales and everything else, there were some 1 terabyte thumb drives that were coming out. I think it was 1 terabyte, or maybe it was 500 gig, but still, it was massively large and for really, really cheap. But every review was just like, just don't touch it with your fingers. You're going to burn yourself.
Oh, wow.
Because there's nowhere for when it's transferring, there's nowhere to shoot that heat off on a thumb drive.
Wow.
Right. That makes perfect sense. I mean, because the smaller you get, the more heat. Because I can tell you the what they've done from Dan now has the same computer that I'm currently DJing with, and my old one and this one were from the same brand and the same line. And I can tell you, for 6 years difference, there is a giant change in how they've worked the heat. Because this one, you may think, I don't know, Dan, do you feel it runs hot at all?
No.
Yeah, the other one was crazy hot. Like it was like, this can't be good for it running this hot.
Wow.
So they've done that much in just 6 years to whatever technology. So, as these things start coming in and, being able to find that 1 terabyte inside, and I don't see a DJ in the world that would want to buy an all-in-one without a changeable drive. So I'm going to guess, because you're going to want to put whatever you want in there. So I'm guessing it would have to take some sort of SATA drive or something, that sort of connection in there for that sort of drive. But it's still crazy to think about all this. I sat through CES, and the technology that's coming is crazy what they're doing. We're going to move on to the audio section of it, which is still hardware, but I'm going to call it audio. That Beats, because iPhone no longer has the jack that they're doing wireless. Beats is releasing, I can't say speech impediment, releasing a line of headphones completely wireless for under $100. Because Beats headphones are pretty expensive. So now you can get a pair of fully wireless for under $100 if you like Beats. And I wish Shaney was on tonight because they're also putting out wireless earbuds just like the Apple ones. But they look like this. They actually are making them tailored towards ladies. Isn't that pretty?
That is something.
So that's the Beats. I forget what they're calling them. AirLink.
The Link Special.
It's called the AirLink for women is what they're entitling that.
Wow, what a great name.
Yeah. AirLink is the line, but I don't know what they're doing with that. But that then takes you into the future of DJ headphones. We're not far off of there being quality, usable wireless headphones. Or an earpiece. Where, like Dan, if you're out there on the dance floor where you're remote controlling your music, you'd be able to hear and cue by having that wireless thing in your ear. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes. I'm just like, man, now how much are we having to do at one time? Yeah.
Well, if it's that way.
I'm going to go tell you get off my lawn here because that's unfortunately the way I feel when I said that. But
you young kids nowadays and your fancy jiggamabobs.
Back in my day, we had a wire and we liked it.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I figured out a good way of using these. A very good way of using these, although I would wonder how long it would reach.
Okay.
But the ability, like if you have to go across the room, you could have a countdown kind of thing embedded to be able to hear. Yeah. And you're across the room and you're like, okay, I'm hearing better than if I was, just relying on the speaker. Or even if you had to go to the bathroom and you need to be able to hear.
So hope the mic's not on when you go.
No, earbud, not mic.
So take the mic with you, but this was my thought because John and I were talking today about all the things that I predicted that have come true with all the DJ world. I'm making some more predictions, and this is going to be one of my predictions for the future. That when we get an all-in-one, that it's going to have a 1/4-inch adapter for the headphones that is powered. So that you plug it into your wireless headphones, it charges, and whenever they're charged, it'll let you know they're charged. Then you can unplug the wireless headphones and use them wirelessly. Use them wired or unwired, but you constantly have that power going, and no one's done power, with that. All they, depending on how quickly it charges, all they have to do is use that third ring, and run power that way. See, my mind. Somebody needs to pay me for these things, but these are my predictions.
Wireless headphones.
Wireless charging headphones through your typical 1/4 or 1/8-inch jack. So that was the headphones. Now we're going to go on to software, Dan, and this is where I'm going to talk about. So many of the programs, that they were talking at CES were now being used and brought out in app form as opposed to program form. When you talked earlier about programs and different things like that and changes, what's your thoughts on if Serato, Denon, Tractor, Megaseg comes out with an app that runs identical to where all you would need to do was to plug in an iPad to your controller and you're good to go. Instead of it being an all-in-one, it controls an iPad that has a terabyte of drive on it.
I mean, we're already kind of doing some of those, and there's already been some connections between some controllers and DJ on the iPad. So some of that's already kind of in place. Again, I go back to, I still like to have that extra typing aspect to it. But beyond that, I mean, take away that part of it. And I mean, there are Bluetooth keyboards and stuff as well. I think it's a cool idea. I think it's a great idea. It makes us more mobile. It makes us smaller for what we have to carry and what we're having to deal with. So that's definitely a plus to me.
John, your thoughts, app versus software? Does it even make a difference?
I don't think it really makes a difference. And you mentioned, of course, using iPads. Goodness, the 12, the Microsoft's, their Surface is huge. The new iPads are bigger. Yeah, it's just a matter of time before, this is just not going to happen. The only thing that's going to keep that around are these, the old guys like Dan who want to have a keyboard in front of themselves. The rest of us will just be able to just basically say, okay, computer, play that song or load that song for me, and it'll just do it.
Activation, yeah. This is the thing that was in the hardware that I skipped over, and it goes exactly what you said, John. There was a ridiculous amount of folding computers, like the Yoga and the different ones that will fold the keyboard, fold back and work like an iPad, like a pad.
Yep.
You have both choices. I think that's going to kind of be the norm for stuff coming out because people aren't going to want an iPad and a computer.
Yeah.
The average person doesn't need the power that we use for our software and DJing or processing music or videos. So I think folding computers are going to be another thing. So that puts you, Dan, back to the point of you can have a keyboard if you want, and if John and I don't, we flip it back and we don't have a keyboard.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely going to see that. I mean, a number of people who I get contacts on a weekly basis, and they don't have the ability to handle a PDF besides on their phone. They don't have a computer anymore. It's like, really? How can you be a DJ and not have a computer? Well, I've got my DJ one, but it never goes on the internet. Okay.
Yeah, this one is my first DJ computer that goes on the internet. That's why I said that I'm learning the Wi-Fi's, because for 6 years this thing ain't going online. But I'm okay with that now. I want to take the next step because I do believe in the future. Again, because I'd like change. I believe in the future I'm going to have to be streaming some songs or getting some songs.
Jim makes a good point, and this is something when you're talking about screens on everything, that's my biggest concern, especially after the last 6 months, is realizing that as we get older, I can't see little screens. And we started putting these little things. I mean, even today, looking at the 7000, I was changing glasses so I could see the different components of it, because sometimes there are things, okay, I'm looking at, this isn't a strong enough glasses, and I'm putting on different glasses to see. As we get older, these types of things hit us. And if you guys are not experiencing that, well, it'll catch you eventually.
Yeah. I with the bigger screens, a lot of the ones you can't adjust the font size. But with that tiny screen, that's going to have to be something they're going to have to think about programming. And then being a 7-inch screen, and if you have really bad eyes, is that even going to matter? You're going to be seeing like one word.
Well, yeah. See, I set virtual up a little bit, so on my screen you have LAD scroll Y space G.
See, I'm the opposite, because I have another friend of mine, RTG. I don't know if he's watching tonight or not, but he'll come up and do sets with me, and he's younger than me, and I have really good eyes, so my font is so small, so I could see lots of songs.
Yeah,
he'll walk up and go, I can't even read this.
Yeah.
So it's more than just older, John. There's just, certain people don't have, the best of eyes, young or old. And that is something that as the screens get smaller that you're going to have to think about.
And Diamond Lee mentions iPad DJs getting booted off DJ competitions. That's going to happen until you get someone who is so proficient with an iPad and can perform with an iPad that it isn't a pre-recorded thing.
Yeah.
And it will change. It's just a matter of time.
That people get so down on the controller guys until you see somebody who can actually DJ on a controller, scratch and beat juggle and body tricks and all that stuff, and then they go, well, I guess you could.
Yeah, and that's same thing with an iPad. And then 2 weeks later, a guy will do it on his cell phone, and then a month later, he'll do it on his watch.
There you go. There's the haters going to coming into town. No carry on. Bam.
Yeah.
I remember when was it VH1 had the DJ competition?
Yeah.
And it was like the last season that they did it. There was a guy, and he lasted a lot longer than he should have.
They only met it one season.
Yeah, they had 2, I thought.
Did they?
Yeah, I think they had 2 because it was at least 2. So this was the last one that I caught.
Okay.
But they had somebody came on with an iPad, and played, and they got, again, they let him stick around for a lot longer than they should have, I think, just try and show, hey, this was a cool novel idea, but he was horrible.
The novelty of it, yeah,
because it was more of a blending than anything else. Like, he wasn't.
That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand with different styles. If you go into the EDM world, you won't see a single person scratch. So having scratchability, well, virtually no one scratch. So having scratchability in that world really isn't all that great, because if you scratch, then people are going to be like, it's not the right place, man. You got to keep pure. You got to keep it pure. And but in the other sense, if you go into another, because like I've held DJ competitions, which I still want to get one going with John, that we put a video up and said, this is what we're looking for. And it was a guy on a controller doing all kinds of tricks. And most of the people we got who signed up, all they did was beat match for 10 minutes. And it's like, that's not that. And then there's another girl that was like, we do this whole show where we do grinders and sparks and all this kind of stuff. I said, it's not that kind of show. And they're like, what, are you afraid of us winning? I'm like, I'm telling you, unless you're mixing, you'll lose. And she's like, well, that's not fair. I'm like, it's just a different thing. So in the same sense that, that we're looking at this, it's going to be different if it's an iPad, depending on what you're doing. If you're a wedding DJ and you're blending a couple and just playing the rest, that's all you're going to need, right?
Pretty much. And of course, as Day and Night points out, as soon as Juicy M does her video on Juicy M mixing on 4 iPads, once she does that, it'll become...
I had heard she quit DJing on iPads, that she walked away from it.
Really?
What somebody said that
I guess if she had, I haven't even seen it. Last I saw was on CDJs. So I might be so far behind.
Yeah.
Look what happens when you can't, you're not following.
Speaking of all this stuff, one of the big things at CES was everything being connected to each other. Mm-hmm. So technology is getting smaller, and you have wireless DMX systems that you can buy. What if all lights came with a Wi-Fi transmitting thing that connected to your single controller, that was connected to your video, which was connected to your audio, that's connected to your wireless headphones, that's connected to your video mapping? All of it together. Dan, is that seriously get off my lawn stuff?
I heard it said a long time ago that the more elements that, and this was talking about an old TV, right? But the idea of putting a TV in a VCR and DVD player, the more elements you put into one, the more chance there's for failure.
Oh, yeah. You sound like my grandma.
We used to
say I like the idea of being able to connect all of them. I right now I'm looking at buying Eternal's show cube because I like the wireless aspect. I like being able to control from across the room. I love that part. But to control everything and put every stock in one point, something goes down. Now, not only do I have to get a backup for my music, I now have to somehow figure a way to get my headphones hooked into it, my lights back up and running, along with whatever else is happening. I think is good, but I'm not going to go to one single point to do everything. Not at a wedding.
So this is 2017. So in 2027, and you're still DJing, we know what you're going to be using.
I'm gonna have 2 hookups.
So that's the thing with the 2 sound cards. You can do that. So let's say you do that. You have 2 full systems that are in one that are together but separated.
But now I'm not going down to 1 point. I'm going down to 1 point. I'm going in multiple directions. Because I've got one laptop that would be doing the lighting aspect with the wireless, and I've got another one that would be. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going. One point is a big point for failure.
Well, what I'm saying is if just like the 7000 that John just got, it has 2 sound cards in it. So imagine getting the next 10 years from now, the next unit that it's all hooked together, but they're still separate to where, it's modularly put together to where you're putting your lighting module in there and you're putting this, and now they start communicating with each other.
Okay, now I'm understanding you different. Okay.
So but your analogy of the TV and the VCR together is perfect, as in for failure. That was, you lose one, you lose both, more or less, in a way.
Yeah. But if you've got one, but one box containing multiple divisions, is no different than my, my rack space. That's a 10 by 2, and I've got multiple components. It's just now it's going to be in a singular aluminum or plastic container. As long as they're separate, that's a different. We're talking about just how it's holding.
I think I'm looking more towards it being all connected, like the smart home being all connected, where you use your phone to control your heat and your lights and the locks on your doors and everything. That's what I'm thinking.
Alexa, play my song.
That was the other thing that every device, every time they would introduce, we're having a new laptop, we're having a new light bulb, we're having a new speaker. They're all Alexa compatible. So everything is Alexa, get me a beer. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna
replacing my son. Oh, sorry.
Son, yeah. I'm gonna skip to something that I thought was really cool. It's super crazy expensive, but this I know is the future as soon as the prices start coming down. But there's a new company out of China, Hisense, Hisense, that was part of the keynote speeches. Yeah, see my spediment coming back. Have put out a short throw projector that runs about 6 inches away from the wall that will project a 4K 100-inch picture on the wall. So there you go. So video at weddings where you only have to come 6 inches away from a wall and you have 4K video 100 inches by whatever, 100 corner to corner, that would be 100 inches.
Right.
Very, very expensive, but down the road, it connected into your wirelessly to your whatever unit, Dan, whatever you choose to use. Because with everything communicating to the VCR, but with that way everything's communicating, like I said, and everything on there, you're behind the DJ booth, your table going, Alexis, play video or whatever, wirelessly with everything being connected. I mean, does that? I guess if the price came down, anybody would be cool with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the idea of doing a wireless, for example, a wireless HDMI, is something I looked into for myself, from the idea of whether it's monograms or whether it's whatever, just so I'm not having to run 25, 30 feet of HDMI cable. It's great, but the instance I saw the price tag, I went, okay, but maybe not yet. I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
Having that ability to do that with anything, especially in high quality, high as what we're expecting now. Yeah.
Because 4 and 8K were everywhere. Nobody said anything about, it's 1080i. No, everything's 4 or 8K now.
I love the video wall that one of the groups put out. One thing that I don't think any of us would buy for like mobile, but
they're kind of like in the way Denon's, John. I didn't get a picture of this. I probably should, but it's kind of like not Denon, but American DJ has that square unit that you can link bunches of them together.
Yep.
Much smaller, and you can endless, because the way they're powered, you can put endless amounts of them together, and then it becomes I don't know if it's 4K or 1080 resolution, not the LED dots, but it's that high resolution, and you just piece them together as much as you want.
Yeah, they've really, that technology and that point to the pixel size is just, it's gone crazy in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's why they say, I forget the name of the rule, but it's technology doubles every year and a half. Yeah. So look at where we were 10 years ago and where we're going to be 10 years into the future. Because 10 years ago, if you want to see something funny, I did this last year when they had the 9th birthday for the iPhone. Go back and watch the original video. You can find it on YouTube of Steve Jobs showing off the iPhone for the first time. And he says, and if you want to open it, you just slide your finger. And everybody goes nuts. That was just 10 years ago that I remember. I had a friend that his friend paid him. Let me think how he did that. He bought 2 iPhone 1s, which were, if I'm correct, at that time, $700 each. And then paid my friend another $300 to stand in line for him to buy 2 of them for him and his wife. So he put almost $2,000 into 2 phones.
Wow.
10 years ago. And where it's going to be in another 10 years. There was a company that put one at CES where there was what do they call it? It was I think they called it combo vision, and they were glasses that could do virtual reality, augmented reality, or assisted reality. And that meant that you're looking at something, and if that thing has something that triggers and says, that's a Ford car, and it pops up and tells you can get the Ford car at the local such and such, and having that shrunk down into your glasses to where you don't have to worry about that tiny screen because it's augmented about this far in front of your eye, in whatever size. But they had them on and they showed them, and they were like looking around and different things were set up. And the one guy, he showed there that he had the football game on, and just sitting there in a chair, everybody was around him talking and he's looking around. But when they looked at the glasses, it probably, if it was in front of me here, it probably would have covered up about this much in front of me. So it'd be like a computer monitor size. He was seeing the football game live, but there's nothing in front of him. It was on the glass.
Interesting.
So that we just right there, we solved our problem with the small font, John.
That's true. Wirelessly connected to your glasses.
Yeah, which is plugged into you, which is another one. I saw a guy who they're now, because they're able to do neural networking, to where they literally did a plug into his brain, that he has a neural network that touches a certain part of his brain, that now he can think and make his hand open and close. It was paralyzed before. Because it's now going from the wire down to the muscles on his arm, directly connected electronically, and they're open and closing by him thinking about it.
Interesting.
So you're going to think. You're going to think. Hit the sync button. So that was the show tonight. Was about just that kind of stuff. That there was so much going on when it came to the future of technology, and then we got a few touches of that with the new Denon equipment. Which I really like. I had a friend of mine. He said, this is everything a DJ needs, and I really think it has a lot. It has a lot of potential, except for the price. Yeah, almost $2,000 each.
A little on the expensive side, but I think, as somebody else was saying today that had commented on one of the posts from the Rewind report, is that this is cool, but in a year and a half, 2 years, it'll be better. The next generation and half the price. Yeah, absolutely. Because you even look at the iPhones and stuff, and how much they changed from the iPhone 1 to iPhone 2. Yeah, the space. This is an honest true story. My first Windows computer in the 90s was Windows 3.1. So look where we're at now is Windows 3.1, and it had, like we have 500 gig or terabyte. It had 13 gig.
That was big.
That was
13 gig, and it was big at that time. Yeah. And now I just put a 32 gig in my extra card in my phone, so I've got 64 in my phone just by adding that 32, in those days. But these are just predictions we're looking at tonight, and that's what tonight's show is kind of about, just looking at the crazy stuff that's coming out. Yeah.
MJ, I want to set your mind at ease, though, about the media player, because there is one thing we're not realizing. That's retail, and then you've got MAP, and then you got the streak price. So by the time it's all said and done, it's going to be like $600.
I don't think it'll be quite that low.
All right, maybe not.
It would be nice, but whoever said that on the chat, you're absolutely 100% right, because, look at even the stuff that, how long ago was the Denon 6000 MK2 out?
MK2 was 3 years?
For the second version, the MK2.
Yeah, at least 3.
Well, that was, I think, was that the first one In Music did?
Yeah, I think, wasn't that
it was.
It could have been right about that time. It was either In Music was involved with that one. The switch happened about that time.
So, but you look at that now in just 3 years and how it's kind of thought of as being outdated.
Yeah.
And like he said, you put $1,900 into something, you're hoping to get more than a year or two out of it. I hope. I certainly hope so. Even with the 7,000 and the 8,000 and the price of the RZ2 from Pioneer, that's a lot of money to invest. It is your tool, it is what you work with, but it's like anything else. I got 6 years out of my last DJ computer, and I thought that was pretty amazing. Nonstop for 6 straight years, same computer. So
yeah, especially when you play multiple nights a week.
Yeah. Plus practicing at home and different things.
Right.
So you look at, would you get 6 years out of the 5,000 or the 7,000 or the SC2, the DDJs.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still running a 6000 MK1.
I like the one better than the 2. I still have the 1, but one of my channels went on it. So again, I couldn't get more than 3 years out of it because I use it a lot.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, that I look at this at $1,900 one side, which there are DJs out there that DJ one-sided. They do the mirroring, and you can do that, but a lot of people like 2. But I don't know. I'd be anxious to get my hands on it and see how it feels and all that kind of stuff. The future is upon us.
It is. It'll be interesting next week to see how much of the technology we've talked about tonight is already being knocked off in the basement at NAMM. Because that is
John told us a couple of years ago about how he would watch at NAMM when the companies would release these new products, that guys would walk up with little notepads and pictures and take notes so that they could go back and duplicate it, a knockoff.
So I'm guessing we're going to see turntables, of course, are easy, and you'll see those in the knockoff state. But the media controller and the mixers, if we're going to see a change in going that direction, because the actual true controllers, such as what we've seen from, like the Gemini is one that's knocked off by numerous companies. Those we were seeing, but now are we going to see some of these knockoffs of the higher end components? That'll be
Here's
interesting.
one of my predictions for the book. When Newmark put out that PTO1 scratch, because it became so popular with people liking it because it's so portable, I bet we're going to see them release a PTO2, which is a Technique 1200 level quality, that size. So you can still throw a record on there, Serato record, but instead of having the giant 1200, you have a 7-inch or a 10-inch turntable. So I have a feeling they're going to take that technology from the PTO1 and make it DJ quality. So now you can shrink what you're taking with you, but still use the exact setup you use, the same needles, the same Serato, the same vinyl, the same everything.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. That has been a much more popular turntable than I thought it was going to be, truthfully.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that looks like a novelty thing. Sometimes you see something like that and you're like, oh, yeah. And
but if you had the Denon one or had one of the other ones,
oh no, did I lose you guys? Yeah. Yeah. Well, we did a little bit of that, but we need to wrap things up here so we can stay under our 1 hour time there for YouTube. So Dan, MJ, thank you much. Shani was in the chat room. I don't know if she's still with us, but we miss her, and we will have her back with us. Next Monday will be our pre-NAMM show, and then after that, we're off to NAMM and seeing what the world is going to show us for gear. Woohoo! So thank you guys for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow night. I've got we're going to do a Ben Stowe show and a Brian Red show. I don't know how we're going to do that, but they will both happen tomorrow night. You're going to have to watch DJNTV or my Facebook page to find out times and such. But yeah, we'll catch you then. Good night, everyone.